Good morning and welcome to 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 TV. This is Sage and you're watching the Executive Corner Expert Talks. Today's guest is Mr. John North, the CEO of Evolve Systems Group. And today's guest is actually a 7-time #1 international USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author on business strategy, digital marketing and his passion, squash. We're going to learn more about how Evolve Systems Group has helped over 5,000 SMEs with business-related services in regards to systems improvement and process modelling. So a very interesting show to be had today. Please keep watching. So we've been very lucky to share some space with Mr. John North today, the CEO of Evolve Systems Group. Welcome, John.
Welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Lovely. Well, let's hear more about how Evolve Systems Group helps the small to medium enterprises in the contemporary world. New perspectives, new tools, processes and insights are vital to get high results in any business. So can you please explain how Evolve Systems helps businesses to achieve their goals efficiently?
I think the major challenge right now, obviously through COVID, is to try and figure out the best way to go online. So part of the problem is that most businesses don't really have a strategy, so they really need to think about what's going on in terms of their website and the strategy and the customer journey and all that sort of stuff that happens in that process. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they're just going to have little bits and pieces and try to do things. So I think it's quite challenging for a business nowadays to sort of come out of the gate and suddenly become an online business when before they couldn't. So it's interesting times, and I think there's going to be a lot of challenges, particularly with technology.
Yes, it's interesting to see which businesses have been able to make that shift and have the agility in their structure and risk management strategies to be able to pivot that way. Many have the skill set to write a book, John, but they often do not know how to publish it. And I'm one of those people as well. However, you are an expert publisher who also is able to write many books. So how does Evolve Global Publishing fill the gap here?
Well, I think the biggest problem most people do is they don't necessarily write for a living. So what's happening there is that they sort of think they have to take years to try and write a book. So number one is actually getting it done faster. And so part of the problem is a lot of people come to us and they've even tried to write a book or they've written a book. They don't have the project management to get it done. And so part of that issue is to try and make sure we manage the project, make sure we get that done, but then do all the necessary steps, like make sure it's edited properly, proofread properly, the cover and title, which we spend a lot of time on because people don't really spend a lot of time on that. And the cover and the title have a lot to do with the strategy behind the book. And often we say, again, you need to get that strategy right before you write the book. A lot of people write a book and then they turn around and they try to make the strategy fit the book. So getting all that right and then we always take an international bestseller, which is something we're very good at. We've done probably about 2,000 books that way. So that whole holistic kind of approach to it to make sure it's all done properly, we find a lot of self-published authors don't really understand because they've done it before. We've done a lot of them. We learn every day. So it's amazing how anybody could actually do it on their own.
Yes, the insider's perspective when you're working in the space every day, just the knowledge you gain is phenomenal. You also have another arm to your business, Evolvepreneur.app. Sounds very intriguing. So all in all business system, it's a platform that you have created through an app, and this indeed is the need of the hour. Everything needs to be at our fingertips. What are your plans around this platform in the near term?
So part of the reason why we wrote the platform was for authors and consultants and coaches because they didn't have a really proper system to run. And so when we'd write a book for someone, we'd end up in a situation where we had to turn around and then, say, what's next? And so we wrote an all-in-one platform, basically designed to give them an end-to-end business system, not just a website or some sort of back-end system. So it's a full website platform, and it's designed to give them freedom. So because in today's environment, for example, social media, people are very dependent on it, and they could lose access tomorrow. I mean, the way that censorship sort of runs now, you could easily get caught up in that. One of my clients got up, he's a doctor, and he got caught up in the gun things in America and had nothing to do with him, So the thing is that you've got to look at it and say, well, we need to make sure we use all one system. And it's essentially Australian-made product. We've been developing for nearly 3 years now. And we're hoping it's going to be the next unicorn. So it's a situation where we want to be able to provide them with a complete system, not bits and pieces. People end up with 8 to 10 apps running to run their business. And to me, I think that's crazy. We used to do, we used to sell Sage accounting software years ago. But there's an interesting connection. I saw your name. And so basically, I think that the online systems going probably the likes of accounting software, where it was way back 20 years ago. I think it's got a long, long way to go. And I think part of the problem is everybody just makes little pieces of the puzzle, but they don't put the whole thing together. So that's essentially what we want to do, is give them one system, quick and simple, so they don't have to actually try to manage all these different IT things.
Yes, sounds like a brilliant plan, and best of luck with that platform as well, offering the authors that project management support infrastructure around getting that book out there. So in your opinion, what makes people successful online?
I think expectations. I think the biggest problem with being online is that people think that they're going to build it, they're going to come. And so part of the problem is traffic. So I think a lot of people have a math problem when it comes to this. They think that there's a lot of, if they just build it, people will just show up and start buying from them. And the science behind it is get them to know, like, and trust you. And I think if you can do that on your website and sort of give some sort of results in advance, rather than this whole nameless organisation type stuff I see all the time, where the business owner is not prepared to put their face on their website, they're not prepared to kind of personalise it because they think that it has to look corporate. And I think that chases people off. So I think a more personal side, a little bit more thinking about what they want to do first, and thinking about the traffic and what's happening is the main reason I think people aren't successful online. They forget about all that sort of stuff.
I think you're exactly spot on there. People are wanting something a little bit different from services and the customer experience. Yes, and I think it's definitely a more personalised effect that they're looking for, especially in these cold, harsh times of this economic downturn. And COVID-19 has shattered the industry, many industries out there. Some have found a way to use digitisation in their favour. In your opinion, how long will it take for the business world to revive to the pre-COVID times?
I think it's probably going to be a long time before they get back to normal, and I don't think it will ever be actual normal again. And I think the biggest problem is you don't know when this is going to, the actual COVID and restrictions are going to end. But I think small business is very resilient, so they figure out ways around things, and I think in some respects it's forced them into doing things that they wouldn't have done before. Like Zoom's a good example of that. Like, you used to have situations where I'd have meetings with people and they go, I want to come see me. Now they don't want you to go anywhere near them. And so they're used to doing Zoom and they're happy to do it. So there's been this shift in using that technology. I think a lot of, like, I attended an online event for Tony Robbins a couple of weeks ago, and that was a completely online event. And it was, not, I would say as good as being there, but it's pretty close. So I think a lot of this technology is going to get a lot better. And I spoke to someone yesterday doing virtual tours. So you basically can log in and they take you around a city with their video camera sort of thing. So I think there's a lot of changes that's going to happen. I don't know whether we'll really go back to the way it was. And I think travel is a good thing. If you can get a situation where you don't have to travel to do something, the amount of time I've gone to LA and wasted 2 weeks to get back, and that stuff could have been done in a couple of hours. And so I think that's not going to change. I think the travel industry is going to suffer badly out of this. I think they've come up with a better way.
Yes, well, some say that invention does lead to innovation. So there's so many things that are being just tweaked that little bit and put into effect in these new times that we're having to come to terms with. So, John, that's all the time we really have for the discussion today. Did you want to add any final comments before we close up?
I think just to tell people to sort of think differently, so get outside the box and have a good look at your business and see what's possible, and also think about recurring income. That's one of the biggest things I've sort of like put people is to figure out how you can make recurring income on your business and be COVID proof or business proof at the end of the day. So it's a pleasure being here, and I really appreciate you come online.
Fantastic. And just before you go, if there are some budding authors out there, are you interested in people sending their manuscripts in? Is it mainly non-fiction that you're looking for, or fiction? Are there any genres that you are in particular seeking at the moment?
Typically, we're happy with fiction, non-fiction. I mean, our expertise is predominantly fiction. Oh, sorry, non-fiction. But we have done some fiction, fiction books as well. And non-fiction is a lot easier to produce and a lot faster because you don't have to necessarily have to craft that big story as you used to have to do. So, if they go to johnnorth.com.au, they can always have a conversation with us. It's probably the best place to start because we need to understand the author first, and then we can sort of look at the book and think what's possible.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for filling us in there and for joining us today. Your insights have been valuable, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure, thank you.
And if you've just joined us, thank you. We just had a very inspiring discussion with Mr. John North, the CEO of Evolve Systems Group, and the full recorded interview will be available from the YouTube channel Kalkine Media, so please check it out. And please stay watching for more live market commentaries and expert talks on Kalkine TV. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.